Hi YouTube, this is Evie. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another viewer requested topic for you all. This time I am going to be talking about trainers, what they are in pet play versus in other types of BDSM, if they're involved in other types of BDSM at all. And then I'm also going to be talking about other types of dominance that are common in pet play but that are less often seen in other forms of BDSM, so like handlers and owners and things of that nature. If that interests you, please stick around and watch the video. So in general, the big overarching term of the word trainer is a dominant or a top, some kind of D type of person. Could also be a switch as well, but usually a D type person who has a skill they can provide to or teach the submissive. This can either be a very specific skill, so for example, you could have a trainer who trains people how to boot black. You could have a trainer who teaches people how to do cigar service, although this is not always the case. Oftentimes, you will also have trainers who are sort of general purpose dominants who are there to teach a submissive how to be a submissive and how to be in a BDSM dynamic. This is distinct from being a protector because while it can be a sort of more informal relationship rather than in a master-slave or in a dominant-submissive type relationship, there can be a sexual relationship between the two. You could also have somebody who is in a BDSM dynamic where their dominant is a trainer part of the time and some other kind of dominant, throughout the rest of the relationship. This can either be, again, a very informal, every once in a while kind of thing. Like maybe you see a dominant who is a trainer, once a week for a month in order to learn how to boot black. Or this can be a more serious long-term relationship where you have a sequential progression of things that are taught to you by the trainer. So, for example, you could be seeing a trainer for 6 months to a year before you ever even start to involve yourself in other aspects of BDSM or involve yourself in any other kind of BDSM relationship, specifically because they are there to mold you and shape you into a certain kind of submissive or a submissive who knows how to do certain tasks. Now, this definition does vary a little bit depending on if you are doing pet play or not. Alternatively, if you are involved in pet play, let's say, for example, pony play, a trainer can teach you skills, but it is very specific to pet play. So if you were a pony player who had a trainer, they, for example, might teach you how to do something like barrel racing. They might teach you how to canter or trot. They might teach you kind of how to actually behave like that specific pet and how to basically act like that pet. You could also have somebody who is a pet player who sees a trainer for sort of corrective type reasons. So, for example, if you have a pet that misbehaves a lot or just isn't good at learning tricks from you for whatever certain reason, you could have them see a trainer to help them correct that behavior and help them learn how to do certain skills or learn how to do certain tricks that you aren't able to teach them yourself. A trainer could also just be somebody you attend events with, specifically if you are a pet player. So, for example, if you are going to a pony play competition or a puppy play competition, your trainer will go with you if that happens to be their role, and they will help you do all the different competitions. They will help you train for those competitions. They will just be there to guide you in that capacity in the same way if you were with a real animal going through a real dog show or going through a real horse race or something, the trainer would be there in order to assist the animal. Now, this is not always the case. Oftentimes, you won't have a dominant in pet play who is separate from the trainer. They're kind of one and the same. But you can also have a trainer in addition to whatever other DS dynamic you're a part of. There are also some related terms to trainer that I see used. Handler is one of them. That's very, very similar, especially in pet play, to a trainer. This is not something I've ever really heard used outside of pet play or outside of some kind of pet play dynamic. But a handler is specifically somebody who will take a pet or train a pet for the purpose of competitions and contests. This could also be a very informal, every once in a while kind of pet play dynamic. Let's say it's just somebody you meet up with or only play with at events or something of that nature. Now, handlers and trainers are distinct from owners in one specific way, and that is owners generally have a more committed and complete DS dynamic with the pet or submissive than a trainer or handler would. As I have said previously, trainers tend to be a sort of more informal or at least somewhat infrequent relationship in BDSM, whereas an owner is usually somebody that you see regularly. They're your primary dominant or your primary partner. They are somebody who not only is teaching you how to do skills and, is your dominant in that capacity, but is your dominant in as many other aspects of BDSM as you please. This is also a term that is used outside of pet play. Obviously, it's especially used sort of similarly to master, I would say. It's more of the pet play equivalent of master, though I have heard it used instead of master, like owner and slave, rather than master and slave, although the connotation is a little bit different between the two terms. Now, as always in my videos, I want to emphasize this is not a hard and fast rule. These terms are not set in stone. Owner, trainer, handler, master, dominant, daddy, any of those words mean what you make them to mean. It is not some sort of set definition where there's a BDSM dictionary and you have to exactly follow those guidelines. If you have a trainer who has a more committed relationship with you, that's fine. If you have an owner who has a more casual relationship with you, that's also fine. These terms are what you make them, not what other people make them. And that's really all I have to say about this subject. It was just supposed to be a really quick video. I hope you found it helpful as well, in addition to the person who originally suggested this topic. And if you want to suggest your own topic, please leave that down below. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. That really supports my channel. And of course, you can always subscribe as well if you want to see more. And until I see you next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.